I think the only hope for the environment is to start getting out in front of things, to start planning so you can really control what happens, you know, where it happens here. And this is one of the few rivers I think you got a real good chance to do that on.
You're exactly right. You know, we've been blessed to have this beautiful watershed, the Nanticoke River, and I do a lot of boating all over the East Coast over the years. Haven't found a place that's any more beautiful than what we have right here. And to think that, you know, one day it may become jeopardized it's almost unthinkable. I don't even want to think about it.
The Nanticoke River is the least well-known of the major waterways that cross the Delaware Peninsula of the eastern United States. It begins in the heart of Sussex County from countless creeks and streams with names like Herring Run, Deep Creek, Gravelly Branch, Hurley Drain, and Gum Branch. It is charted from the city of Seaford, Delaware, for 36 miles as it winds its way to Tangier Sound. The Nanticoke is one of the last pristine rivers flowing into the Chesapeake Bay, despite threats from agriculture, development, and industry.
The Nanticoke, and as part of western Sussex County, we're fortunate as far as the diversity of wildlife. The Nanticoke itself, as far as fish, there's a wide variety of fish species. Largemouth bass fishing is very popular. There's pickerel, yellow perch, white perch. Striped bass come up in this area. In fact, the Nanticoke, a little further down from where we are, near the Delaware-Maryland border, is very important for striped bass spawning. Other wildlife, though, as far as waterfowl, wood ducks use the river quite frequently, mallards, black ducks. There's even a nesting bald eagle in the upper portion of the Nanticoke. When you get further down in Maryland in the Nanticoke, near the mouth, there's quite a few eagle nests on the Dorchester County side. Ospreys are increasing in numbers. You can see it. It's evidence on many of the buoys along the river. Other wildlife, though less observable, I think the river is really wealthy in wildlife. There are quite a few pileated woodpeckers, which is a large woodpecker the size of a crow, quite spectacular. It's got a large red crest. They're fairly common along the river, as well as many other woodpeckers. There's owls, great horned barred owls, as well as lesser woodland species. So the Nanticoke has quite a diversity of wildlife, and just for those who know where to look and how to look for them.
The very earliest industrial development in Sussex County was the building of wooden ships. And it's because of the prevalence of first-class timber. Bethel was the prime area because it was very advantageous being on the curve of a river. It was navigable, tidewater, and it was close to the timber. So they started building these ships on the bank of the river about 1850. And they continued through, as I say, off and on until about 1920, 1918. But it's remarkable to think of how these people who built these vessels, the skills that they displayed in forming and shaping this wood to form the hull of a vessel. So these were entrepreneurs, individual businessmen of a very rare breed. They would have the ships built here in Bethel, and they made their home here. And of course, with the advent of machinery and diesel engines and so forth, it became more economical to have vessels that would move under their own power.
It's long been the position of the Seaford plant that the environment can be safeguarded and protected, and it doesn't interfere. In fact, it enhances the business opportunities that are here. The river, of course, as well as providing recreational opportunities, does provide important function for businesses, the water transportation, barges to and from the plant, and the water that we use for cooling our processes on the plant. We take pride in the fact that we return the water to the river cleaner than it was when we drew it out. So we believe that there is a future for industry on Delmarva, there's a future for growth and development, but if it's done responsibly, we can safeguard assets like the Nanticoke River for future generations.
In my dad's era, there wasn't the people that on the river that there is now. There wasn't the pressure on stuff there is now, new equipment and stuff. This rockfish has come back threefold here in the last 8 to 10 years. Good regulations, good management, and people that knows what they're doing can keep any fishery or anything alive. I run fish parties, and I hear it from people with fishing poles and stuff that claim the commercial man take the fish away. And then I hear it the opposite. You know, you hear that there's 2,500 boats at the Bay Bridge catching the rockfish. You hear that they're taking them away. Well, everybody's got to sit down. Everybody's got to sit down and bargain something out and get a management plan and stick by it. And when they do that, you'll have a fishery. And as long as it's maintained, I don't see why nobody should be deprived of it. But that's my side of it.
The biggest problems I think that farmers right now are facing are what to do with waste. The other problems that we have involve manure storage. There's a right way and a wrong way to do that. Ideally, we would have all of our manure stored inside some kind of shed that would prevent the rain from getting on it and prevent the nutrients from leaching out. Right over there is a way not to do it. My particular farm is in the extreme northeastern quadrant of the Nanticoke Watershed Preservation Area. But this is where the pollution starts. It only gets worse as you move downstream and you add my farm, the farm down the road, the farms further down the road. What does that mean for the Nanticoke? It means that wherever we are and as far away as we live from what we call the quote-unquote Nanticoke River, what we up here do is going to impact heavily on that body of water that flows through Seaford and out into the Chesapeake Bay.
A plastic little bottle thing. Here's another tin balloon. There's another tin can.
You know, you're not going to change the attitude of adults. I think maybe a few of them will change, but by and large, the adult attitude is set.
I hope that in the future people will become more responsible and not just throw stuff everywhere and make it be a more pleasant place to be.
The important group is the children.
Well, I mean, by the time the year 2015, something like that, everything is just, there's no animals in the water, no animals in the wildlife. There's no wildlife at all. The plants would be dead, everything would be dead. If we ruin this place, ruin the world, ruin all the rivers, I think nobody can do anything on it.
They are learning in school what the environment is about and how to take care of it and how to care for it and so forth. So basically we're probably just a holding action until they can come of age and make their influence felt. I think they're going to have a lot better attitude about the environment than the current generation, and certainly better than the past generation. Every generation sees a little improvement, and I think the next generation is going to see a lot.
Well, you know, for many years, the Nanticoke River has kind of been ignored, not by choice, just sort of by chance. But I think a lot of people have realized that the Nanticoke River and the watershed that surround the river are very vulnerable. You know, it's a great natural area, it's an important ecosystem, but it is vulnerable. And everything that everybody does that lives in the watershed has a direct impact on the river and the watershed. So I think a lot of concerned citizens got together and said, hey, you know, we can make a difference. We can set an agenda for the watershed. You know, we can help influence officials. We can educate people, help them learn what they're, you know, everything that they do has an exact impact on the watershed. And I think that's, you know, a year and a half or so ago, that's where the idea came from. And it's grown, and now it's at another stage where we really need to involve the public a lot more.
The point is, it's a fairly large river and a lengthy river that has a lot of diversity. And there's really room with proper management and planning that all interests can be accommodated, from wildlife interest to development interest to other conservation interests, in order to maintain the quality of the river, both from an aesthetic standpoint, from a wildlife perspective, and from a water quality perspective. But I think the key here is to properly manage the watershed in a manner that addresses conflicting uses and try to do it in a cohesive, planned manner. And I think doing that, I think we can protect the Nanticoke for future generations in a way that will be looked at as proper stewards of the land, and having the foresight to do that. I think that's very important.
You know, more and more we're finding that a lot of what pollutes the Nanticoke, a lot of what pollutes the bay is runoff from the land, things that get into the groundwater and then go into the river and the bay. And yeah, it's your land, but it's our bay, it's our river, and they're connected, and you cannot unconnect them, you know. And so we have to work out ways that you can use your land without mucking up our bay, and you have to accept the fact they're connected.
Our children and grandchildren have to live in the environment that we leave them. So it's that simple.